Okay, here is why more and more young women are rejecting feminism and just do not want to be associated with it at all. I think these younger generations have really, really good BS detectors. So on its face, feminism sounds great, right? Equality for all and girls supporting girls. That sounds so beautiful. But the second you kind of test that out, you very quickly find that it has just become a total facade.
Hey feminists, I have a question. What are you really fighting for? I don't want to work 8 hours a day. Is this really true feminism? Do we really need these masculine qualities to feel equal? I feel like our power lies in our feminine qualities.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another session with the older man. Today, my friends, we're going to examine feminism from the beginning. And what I mean by that is we're going to look inside the head of a woman who is going to explain to you how she was convinced and how she was radicalized into thinking that the whole feminist route was the best route for her. We are seeing the results of what has been taught to women from way back in the day. But not a lot of older women are coming out and verbalizing, admitting, confessing, spilling the guts on how she got here. To be honest, I don't know if most of these older women are even aware of how far they have come and how far they have deviated from a path that did not fit them. Because we know, my friends, accountability and responsibility is not one of women's best traits. So when I find videos where a woman just coming out and saying, hey man, I screwed the hell up and I want to help other women, I need to share this. I saw this video first shared on Manosphere Highlights Daily this morning, and I was fascinated by it. I immediately went over and I checked out the channel. And the channel is The Radical Center. And the video is an ex-feminist perspective on relationships and childless women with Darlene Lev. And it's powerful, my friends. I'm going to put the link in the description of this video so you guys can go and check it out yourself, because I think you will learn a lot. It's a long podcast. It's over an hour, but I think it's a brilliant perspective from a woman who's quite intelligent, who learned that the whole feminist push was not the way. All right, so listen, we're going to get into that. I'm going to share just a few major clips, and then I'm going to chime in with my 2 cents, because as an older man, I mean, even I'm still relatively young to when this whole feminist push actually punched through, you know? When I was a kid, I mean, the pill was already there. All of these things were already in place because the pill played a major difference in the way women think. So my friends, please like this video on the way in, just so that you don't forget. I promise you I'm going to show you value for hitting that like button. Okay? Of course, subscribe and book a session if you need any help, my friends, whether it's mentoring, YouTube channel, or whether you just need help with your relationship, your marriage, etc. Just life. I'm here for you. And of course, pick up my Content Creators Toolkit. It'll be the best thing you do if you want to make content. Get out there, my friends. Make your own money, man. Make some content. Okay? So let's start with a featured video.
Hello. Today I'm speaking with Darlene Lev. And Darlene, you're a writer who reached out to me recently after listening to a couple of conversations that we've had on this channel. I think for specifically some of the solid ground conversations. And if you don't mind, I'll just read real quickly the paragraph that you sent me, because I think it really sets up an interesting discussion. So you said, I was so taken by our childless women ruining the world that I plan to incorporate the dialogue into a chapter/essay for the book you're working on. I heard a lot of the cause of the problem put on men. I agree and have experienced this, but would like to explore how feminism destroyed the courtship that much more directly led to marriage and family formation. Born in 1961, I experienced firsthand the revolution from moms at home to moms at work, from courting commitment to courting instability. I've toyed with writing a memoir called My Dumb Feminist Life, which would examine the choices I made in fealty to feminist narratives and how self-sabotaging so much of it was. So I'm so interested to explore your perspectives on this, and I'll let you just open it up. What's kind of, do you want to say a little bit about yourself first and kind of lay out a sort of the arc of how you've evolved in your thinking?
Well, one of the things that struck me about that particular conversation was, I mean, A, it resonates because I wound up childless myself and it wasn't necessarily intentional. But I also noticed, and I'm thinking you're all a little younger than I am, right? When were you all born on the panel about
I was
Gen
born
X?
in the mid 70s, and then another one of the girls is the same age as me, and two of them are a little bit older, but still probably Gen X.
Yeah. So I was struck by how the dialogue was. I couldn't find a good man. I couldn't find a man who would commit. And this is how I wound up like this. And then, I think one person, forgive me if I can't remember everyone's names right now, but I watch every episode, and the discussions are all so interesting.
Yeah, she couldn't find a man to commit because she went through the whole phase. Even back then, gentlemen, men did not want hoes. That's just the reality of life. But feminism told them that you're now free. We got the pill and enjoy yourself. Be like a man. So back then, even back then, my friends, men rejected promiscuous women. Men rejected women who were masculine in their nature. We're talking 50 years ago, my friends. We have to understand that what we're experiencing now, is the same thing that men did back then. But the consequences for women back then was a lot more painful because there still wasn't that many opportunities work-wise for women. They experienced a lot more pain. But today, we have a society that have shifted to cater to women simply because women were experiencing a hell of a lot of pain when they embrace the whole feminist ideal. Governments had to make room for women. You see how this works?
But I was thinking, I know what happened because I lived through that change. And it's sort of like, if you look at the French Revolution, the people who were coming of age right as the Reign of Terror starts would know something more than the people who are living in the aftermath and grappling with that. So my trajectory, my coming of age completely coincides with the sexual revolution when things really changed. And I like to say, and I have said to my students probably at my own risk that TV in the 60s was very family oriented, very much about being a good civic citizen. The morals were all, I would say, fairly universal, how to be a good person, how to handle the town bully, Mayberry RFD, family.
Just a little side note. 2 days ago, I did this piece on Is Femininity Dead in 2025? The raw, unfiltered conversation we need. And within my edit, I was trying to create, and I wanted a photo with a family. So I asked the AI to create a video for me with a family eating dinner. Do you know that it created a woman and 2 kids? A woman and 3 kids. And I ran the prompt again. Create a family eating dinner. No men involved. None. None. Nada. Zilch. No men in the family. I had to ask the prompt to include the husband in the photo. It created 2 men in the photo. I asked the AI, this is mid-journey, by the way. I asked the AI to create a family with a husband and 2 kids sitting at the table and the wife serving the table. It would not do it for me. It would give me videos with the woman facing the camera, not with the man and the 2 kids at the table. It gave me another photo with the man and the woman serving the kids. But no, it would only give me an illustration, not a photo, an illustration of the woman actually serving the man and the 2 kids at the table. Yeah, that's how far we've gotten. To the point where the AI can't even identify that it's normal and traditional that of a wife serving her family, a husband and kids. Yeah. Make that shit make sense.
And then we start getting into the relaxing the codes, and now there's murder and single police women, Charlie's Angels, which was a huge influence on me. And it just completely changed. And by the time I reach my adolescence, now there is abortion. And I even remember I was sitting on the toilet when I heard on a talk show in the next room that my mother was listening to that now, Roe v. Wade has been passed. And I remember thinking, oh, good, I can do whatever I want.
Wow.
And we also had the pill. And so, it's brand new. And when something is brand new, people tend to react to it, overreact to it. It really completely liberated me and my friends as teenagers into basically having a lot of casual sex.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, my friends. There we go. And the thing is, that was just the beginning. That's the beginning, my friends. Now we're here. Lily Phillips.
All these guys are going in our back door today.
Tell me I did not just see that.
All the guys coming down with us. A very, very long line. Following us. It doesn't stop. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. This is a big deal. Wow. I'm so excited.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas.
Yeah. 50 guys going in the back door. This is what we have evolved to, my friends. 1,100 guys a day, and now we're doing 50 guys in the back door. Women who go through 50, 60 men a month. That's nothing. That's where we are. That's the quality woman that we have, my friends. Woo!
And it even seemed that you were supposed to, like the arbiters of correct opinions were imposing this on us, because I remember asking myself, and I know other women have said the same thing, why am I doing this? I don't really like it. It makes me feel bad. I'm also, regardless, sort of garnering a kind of a dubious reputation. But then I'm wired like that, and I can't seem to extricate myself from this habit. And, all of the advertising, much of what I was reading in teen magazines was sort of promoting this, you don't have to live like your mother, and you can live like a man. And another anecdotal evidence story, anecdotal stories. Anyway, little lack of sleep last night. I had 5 friends that I hung out with in high school, and we called ourselves the Coyotes. And our motto was, we can do what men do, and we can do it even better. And we would drive down the main street hooting and whistling at guys, and, drinking a lot, and getting ourselves in all kinds of sexual trouble.
This is the thing. The only thing feminism have accomplished in this whole thing is to make women act like the worst version of irresponsible men. The worst version of men, that's what the average woman has become. Tell me I'm wrong. I've always tried to explain this to people. If you give someone complete freedom and they have no real guidance, you take away the primary source of discipline, what will happen? I asked ChatGPT a very similar question. Let's hear what she says. I asked you earlier about discipline. If you do not provide discipline to people or an individual, what happens with regards to a society?
Got it. Without discipline in social responsibility, people might neglect community duties, overlook the impact of their actions, or fail to contribute positively to society. This can lead to negative consequences for the broader community.
And that's what happened. Women stop having any responsibility or regard or respect for community. They only focused on self, and that's where the problem came. That's where we have a massive breakdown in how societies are now run. And instead of governments saying, hey, we got a problem, they kept perpetuating this idea simply because women were the consumers. Women were responsible for buying stuff. So companies realized that if they piss off women and take back the so-called freedom that they have, then those companies would suffer. So women were left to their own devices. Go free. Go do what you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be, ladies. You can do whatever you want. So you became the worst version of yourself. You didn't become the best version of yourself because you didn't go out there and create societies. You didn't go out there and build things. You became the worst version of what men, the individuals who are supposed to protect and provide for you, you became the worst version of what those men wanted. And then you cry when those men didn't want you.
Women have changed the rules of dating and they don't like how men are responding. They are modern women that expect men to date them in a traditional way, like courting. Men have listened to women say that they are strong, independent, and don't need a man, that they can pay for their own food, and that they don't owe men their bodies or their time. Along with this toxic rhetoric, these same women have raised their standards, as they like to say. Now, this has left the average man out of the dating market and given the top 10% of men all the choice and the options. This has led to so many bitter women going on social media to complain about their experiences and the way men navigate their current dating pool. Let's take a look.
Dating in New York is really, really bad right now. Like, look, I look sexy as fuck.
Mid.
Sexy AF.
Well, you look like a normal woman. Let's just...
And not a single soul has looked in my way, in my direction, my directional pattern. Like,
you look okay. Let's not gas this up too much.
And like, if I knew no one was gonna stare at me or like give me at least a compliment, like, I would have just worked out at home.
Yeah, here's the thing. Women have ruined the gyms, right? So they went to the gym, they got naked, men approached them, and then they said, hey, I'm just trying to work out. Therefore, men stopped doing that. They said, hey, we don't like catcalling. Stop doing that. And so the men said, fine, we're done. And now the women are mad, yeah.
Like, there's no need for me to be in a sports bra and nobody's asking me out on a date or, like, to leave my house with me. Like, I can't. Also, like, yeah, I'm not an erotic type bitch, like, feminist type bitch. Like, there's a reason I'm wearing a tiny, tiny sports bra. There's always a reason.
This is the problem.
Oh, you hear her whining? I mean, look at me. I'm wearing a really small, tiny sports bra. Why would men look at me? And then when men look at you in the gym because he can't help it, then you condemn him for it. These women know exactly what they're doing, man. It's unreal. But I'm glad she said that. I'm glad she said it out loud. When I see these women in the gym here, dressed like this, I don't even approach them. I don't even look at them. I don't give them the pleasure of even an older guy looking at them. When you don't even have old bastards looking at you, you know it's going to make you feel like shit. So you don't have the old guys looking at you. You don't have the young guys looking at you. You don't have the mid-freaking age guys looking at you. And yet they still try hard. It's incredible.
And recently we a few of us got together and we were reflecting on that. And we realized that this was a very short window of time, because AIDS comes along in 1983 and changes everything. So I would say that people born between, say, 1958 and 1965 are the people whose life story sort of goes alongside this change.
Oh man, for those of you younger guys, younger people that never experienced when AIDS first came out. Man, I lost 3 guys. I was into banking at that time. I lost 3 men from my office. 3. And that was literally at the beginning stages of it. Fast forward another 5, 6, 7, 8 years, there was quite a few men and women that I lost during that time as well, that I knew. This was on a tiny island in the Caribbean, the Cayman Islands. So this whole thing came out, and I can tell you guys it was one of the most scariest things you would know, because back then I was at the peak of my sex life. I was peaking. That was when I was starting to make a little bit of money. That was when my body was in good shape. That's when things were good. They were pretty good for me, you know? And all of a sudden it just came to a screeching halt. It wasn't fun at all.
And in the essay, A Requiem for the Patriarchy, that I sent to, in the 60s, it really was like there was a dad in every house. There was only one household where there was no father. That mother was divorced and had a daughter named Tammy, and they lived with her grandparents. I am not going to say that those marriages were all happy marriages. I mean, even in my own household, it wasn't a love match by any stretch of the imagination, but absolutely it was a home. And I was a very observant kid, spent a lot of time alone watching everybody. And I would say that in most cases, that was the sense that every one of those houses was a home. And for the most part, the mothers were all in those homes. And then the no-fault divorce thing comes along, and it's like everybody sort of jumps on that bandwagon. And by the time I get into high school, there were the kids whose parents were divorced, and those were the cool kids who could do whatever they wanted because nobody was around to watch them. We were going into those houses and smoking pot and drinking drinking their mother's alcohol. And, I would say that those are the kids, when I look back, who didn't really fare off very well. So, I'm grossly generalizing, but, on the other hand, I think I'm observing a trend, the breakdown of the family.
But she's right. I remember growing up, and the people who did not have a father in the home, the kids were unruly. Those were the homes that guys were smoking herb, smoking cigarettes, while the mother was out working, trying to make a few dollars. The father wasn't around. Those kids went through a much harder life than the kids who had a father in the home. It wasn't easy at all.
Sort of permitting, getting out of commitments and not seeing things through. And I think where we are today is in a habit of not trusting that you can get through a bad period with a spouse or a partner, and see it through to the end. We are now wired to get out. And I've done that myself many times. And when I look back, I say, the one marriage that I got out of, I really think I shouldn't have done that. I never really did any better. And, and I made these choices by rote because I was listening to this other, these sort of voices up there who are telling you what you're supposed to feel, what you're supposed to want. And now we have social media doing that. And, some of the things I did were really incredibly callous and very much anti-family formation, anti-life. And, that was the theme of the essay. It just seems that we are being guided in that direction to move away from all of the kind of social mores that encouraged us and facilitated family formations and producing life.
Oh, man, she is laying it out. Here's the thing about marriage and women. And I want you guys to just listen carefully. Women have a higher degree of neuroticism than men. What do I mean by that? I'm not going to say anything more. I want ChatGPT to explain it. Who has a higher degree of neuroticism, men or women? And then explain what is neuroticism for my audience. I'm in the middle of a podcast at the moment.
Studies suggest women generally report higher levels of neuroticism than men, Neuroticism is a personality trait characterized by emotional instability, anxiety, moodiness, and worry. People high in neuroticism are more likely to experience negative emotions and stress.
And women experience more of this than men do, correct?
Yes, generally women report higher levels of neuroticism, which means they tend to experience more anxiety, mood swings, and stress compared to men.
Thank you. So that means, my friends, that when a woman is in the marriage, let's just say an argument occurs, right? If the level of anger or frustration is at a 10, I got to give it a quantity just so that you guys can see what I am explaining. If the argument reaches a level of 10, a woman feels 11. The man feels 7. Her feeling at 11 basically means that she sees this as just something she cannot take. Naturally, she would want to get away from that situation, correct? Because if I was a man feeling an 11 of pain from an argument, I would want to get the hell out as well. So she sees everything at a much higher degree of pain for situations that do not require it. So she wants to escape that situation, thinking that she could do better. Because this isn't it. The only time she's not going to experience neuroticism is if she's constantly at a state at which she can manage it. She can control it. She can control the argument. She can control the man. Because she knows that the discrepancy in the problems comes from the man in the house. In other words, if she can control that, that's why the control for her is important. She can control the relationship. But here's the conundrum. The second she controls that and she gets everything she wants, she now expresses herself in almost a childlike behavior and in an undisciplined type of way. She feels that she could go back to the streets. She feels that she could do whatever she wants because society gives her that freedom, right?
When given too much freedom, people can experience decision fatigue, uncertainty, or even anxiety. They might struggle with setting boundaries, prioritizing, or maintaining focus without structure or guidance.
So what do we have? We have a woman who now feels a lot of anxiety from the marriage, but then when she controls it, she don't like it either. So she's caught between a rock and a hard place, but she's going to gravitate to the point of least resistance. And least resistance is where she can try to get control. And when she can't get control, she will either say, all right, you know what? This is my man and he set the rules and he put his foot down. I'm going to get my shit together because he's made me secure enough and he's shown me that if I am on his program, I'm going to be okay. But if the man does not show his woman that and control the situation, she's going to control him. And if she controls him, my friend, it goes horribly wrong. And I saw this in a Steve Harvey episode. And I'm going to show you when you have let your woman control you, the level of disrespect she has for you. This is a freaking horrible example right here.
Oh, but I feel this is my husband of 21 years, my homie, my best friend.
All right.
Yes. So recently, one evening, he had gotten in the shower after work. And he got out to, dry off or whatever everything. We married, we great have relations. But anyhow, so he got out, dry off everything. He bending over, drying off really good. And I noticed that he had a few napkins left in his tail. You know how the little white beads, the little girls get the white beads on the end? It was beaded on the end, Steve. And I got a little stressed. I had seen a few before and I let it go, but I feel like we teammates. We should look out for each other. And it's getting overgrown down there is what I'm getting to. Like he got a little too much hair on his bottom and it's holding more napkins than usual. So as women, we do our part, right? We make sure not only our outer appearance together, but we make sure, we keep ourselves together, waxing, getting our hair done, pedicures. But it seemed like when we had the conversation that he felt like that's not what men's supposed to do, like get into, doing the waxing or, doing the pedicures. And I don't want him to turn 65 and it just go dreadlock or, Or, you know, the toenails, them old school players, they had a toenail where the hood lift up from the fungus. And I think that come from not getting pedicures. I think it should be okay for a man to groom himself. And so, but he don't feel like that's what men do. They don't get waxing. So I'm thinking trim. I don't know, but I need your help to see how to fix it.
Somebody punking me, disappoint.
It's real, Steve. And you're a fly guy, so I know you keeping the hood under there together. I don't think you coming to Marjorie.
I'm so confused. Are we talking about what I think we talking about?
His ass hair is overgrown.
What is you talking about? What are you talking about? He right there.
He my homie.
What is you talking about? His hair coming out of his asshole.
It's growing.
Don't nobody care.
I do.
We don't want to hear this.
I do.
Who in here like me don't give a damn?
Yes, we do.
Why are you talking about the butt hair that's growing out of your man's ass?
Out of there.
We don't want to hear that.
We want to see our men kept together.
Ain't nobody finna wax their ass. What's wrong with you?
Can we trim it?
Ain't nobody trimming it. What are you talking about?
Steve.
There's people in here. He right there.
This my homie.
He your homie. He ain't our homie.
You see, I see a level of disrespect for a man that has been beaten down for 21 years. For her to embarrass her husband like this, and everybody in the audience laughs. That's how far we've gone into embarrassing men. Just imagine, just reverse the roles. A man talks about, hey, you know, Steve, when I open her lips, you know those little toilet piece tissues, it's stuck in there. We men, we know it. We've been there. We've been there, right? And it's a bit hairy and it doesn't smell that good. What should I do, Steve? What do you think they would do to a man if he did that to his wife? We would be freaking ridiculed and canceled. But no, on daytime TV, mainstream TV, this is what we get. Yeah. That's how far we've fallen, my friend. Now, I don't want to drag this out too long. I want to just listen to another little piece from this lady.
Kind of the freedom that people have. Kind of the freedom that people have gained throughout this modern era has left us sort of seeking and expecting that we can perfect things, that we can reach something better. So like thinking about your mother and her saying to you, don't have kids, don't do what I did. She's wanting something for you that's better than her perception of what her life was like. And then
she did tell me. So she did tell me that she realized that my life was actually much harder than hers.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So
she actually did have it better.
I want to hear about that. But I also want to, reflect like these men who aren't interested in seeing a young woman again after one physical encounter. They're thinking, what are they thinking? Is it quantity? Is it quality? Is it like, maybe I would find someone who's a better mate for me? I met this woman. No, she's not quite what I'm looking for. So I'm not interested in more. But if I meet somebody who really knocks my socks off, I might. But as long as you have the sense that there's something better out there and then you keep striving for it, it's like, and then a lot of the, I guess shouldn't say a lot, but several of the women that I've spoken with in the course of these dialogues over the past, I guess, year or so, who have talked about their experience of not ever becoming mothers, have said, I didn't want to do to someone what I felt was done to me. I felt like I was going to perpetuate something that I think was undesirable in my own family or my own behavioral patterns, or I didn't think that I was good enough to be somebody's mother.
And here's the problem that we experience as kids, right? When we see conflict between mom and dad, as a child, we see it with child's eyes. So our experiences are through the brain of a child. So that means that the energy and the response from an adult hitting a child, that anger, that frustration that parents express, influences the child in a much, much more dramatic way than if it was another adult experiencing the same argument. Because the adult can decipher the problems and the nuances that are occurring in the argument. The child only sees extreme anger from these two big forms in front of them. And these two individuals that they're supposed to see as people who are leading and commanding their life. So the experience as a child is huge. But here's the thing. If you are not conscious enough to understand that that is the view I had as a child, and I should not take that view or that feeling into my adult life to then make a decision as big as not having a child because I saw what my mother went through, is very short-sighted. We have to understand that my experience as a child is significantly different. My parents' experiences and growing together will not be the same experiences that I have in today's environment with another person that is not my dad, and I don't have the mind of my mom. In other words, there is no comparison that you could make that would equate your life to your parents' life. So we have to understand, ladies, that when you make a decision such as not having a child because you saw what struggles your parents went through when they had you, is a fundamental mistake. And if you're making that decision simply on the fact of that you saw what your mother went through, so I don't want to have a child, you will regret that. My friends, this is as much as I want to take this. I don't want to make this video too long. By all means, please go and support this because this was a really, really profound interview. So like this video on the way out, my friends, of course, subscribe, book a session, and join our membership system. So my friends, until next time, remember, whenever in doubt, always, always, always ask an older man. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.